everybody, it's Chris from Palm Beach Feng Shui again. I'm here to talk about Flying Star Feng Shui. So Flying Star, well, sorry about that. Flying Star Feng Shui is a more traditional type of Feng Shui created a long time ago, thousands of years ago. And I stumbled across this probably about 3 years after I started learning about Feng Shui and taking classes. And what I discovered about Flying Star Feng Shui is that it's much more detailed than Western Feng Shui or even the traditional compass Feng Shui, which are both very popular types of Feng Shui. It is more complicated, but I just really like it a lot, only because I found that I was getting better results when I used Flying Star Feng Shui versus compass Feng Shui and versus traditional Western Feng Shui. You may find that's not true for you. The only way to know is for you to try different types of Feng Shui for yourself and see what kind of results you get. So all I'm saying is, for me, this is the one that works the best. So this is the one that I do with my clients. This is the one that I talk about all the time, and this is the one that I follow, like, I wouldn't say religiously, but when I notice things are not, you know how when things are going well, you don't really notice that? When I notice things are going not well, I know that something's wrong with the Feng Shui in my house. There may be other things as well, but I always check the Feng Shui, the Flying Star Feng Shui, and when I make the adjustment, things start to get better. So that's just my experience. You may find something else, but this is why I do this type of Feng Shui. So what I like about it is Flying Stars are much more detailed. So each of the stars, there are 9 different stars, just like there are 9 different squares in the Bagua. Each of the stars has its own meaning. And so that star's meaning will tell you what kind of activation you should put in a specific area of your home, depending upon where the stars are for that year. Flying stars change every year, change their direction every year, and there are also monthly flying stars and daily flying stars if you want to get that detailed. I just stick with the annual flying stars because I find that that's plenty. Sometimes when there are months when things are tough energetically because of where the flying stars sit for the year, then I will look to the monthly stars and do activations for monthly flying stars as well. But that might be 2-3 times a year at the most, because you don't want to spend your whole life doing Feng Shui. Or at least I don't. I have other things to do, but I love this. I just don't want to do it like every single day. All right, so in my home, I mean. Flying stars allow for fine tuning. So for example, this year we have the number 1 flying star, that's the star number, sitting in the west. And so you can actually, the west in compass Feng Shui is associated with children and joy, spending time at the lake. I bet you guys didn't know that. So the number 1 star tells you what you can do even more specifically to bring about good energy in that area of your life by activating the number 1 star and bringing in things that support it even more than if you just did things for children and the lake and joy. Okay? And then, like I said, for me, I get better results when I use Flying Star Feng Shui than when I just use traditional compass Feng Shui and when I use Western Feng Shui. But that's just me. You may find something different. All right, so I'm going to pause just a second and then jump back and talk about the number 1 flying star. Okay? Okay, so flying star number 1 sits in the west this year. This particular star is associated with water energy, and the west is associated with metal energy. In Feng Shui, every single direction has its own element, and those elements are wood, water, metal, fire, and earth. Okay, so we'll talk about that more later, but just so you know, the west is associated with metal and the number 1 flying star is associated with water. In feng shui, there are certain elements that when you combine them, they support each other. And then if you combine other elements, they create problems, they create conflict. This year, the water star sitting in a metal direction weakens the energy of the West, which is associated with children. It's associated with, like I said, the lake. It's associated with joy and creativity. So if you are artistic or you do anything creative in your life and you're finding that this year is a little bit more of a struggle than usual to either get your art out or write your books, or your children are finding that there's some area of their life that's a little bit of a struggle this year. It could be health, it could be friendships, it could be school, it could be after school activities. The reason that it could be so broad is because children, it encompasses children as a whole. So every part of a child's life is a little bit weakened this year because of the energy of the number 1 star sitting in the West. So what can you do to activate more supportive energy for children this year, for your creativity this year, or even for, just fun, just having more fun this year? Well, one of the elements that is supportive of the West, which is metal, is earth. So you can bring in earth energy to support the energy of the West. Well, how do you do that, Chris? All right, so you can do a number of different things. You can bring in things like crystals, quartz crystals. You could do amethyst crystals. Pink quartz is coming to mind as I'm doing this. So if you have pink quartz, I would put that in the west area of your home. You can even put it in the west area of your office if you're a creative type. The west area of, I'm getting that people who make pottery are watching this. So you could put it in the west area of your pottery studio. You could put it in the west area of your children's bedroom. So that's how you could support the energy of the West. And even though the flying star, the number 1 flying star is not a bad flying star, it does weaken, the energy of this star does weaken the West this year. The way you can activate the energy of this star, even though you really don't have to do a whole lot because it just does it on its own. If you're feeling like you want fame, recognitions, more success for your creative endeavors, for your children, because the number 1 star is also associated with career and success in career and moving forward. It's also about the future. The way you would do that is you would put a water element here in the West. I would not put an active water element, meaning I would not do an active like table fountain, because that's active water. It means the water is moving. I wouldn't do that because that weakens the area of the energy of the West. What I would do is I would either bring in something like the color blue. You could bring in blue pillows. You could bring in picture of your children and put a blue frame around it. You could, I'm trying to think what else you could do for the West. You could bring in something that's blue and metal, because the West is metal. So like if you had metal plates of some kind, maybe plates in your, like jewelry even, that's made of blue metal, bring that into this area and that will help support that energy. So I know that's kind of a lot of information, and I didn't go into a lot of background about the feng shui elements. But for those of you who are a little more advanced, this will make sense. Number 1 star associated with fame, the fate associated with the future, associated with career, being number 1. That's why I say fame, even though there's another area of the Bagua associated with fame. But it's about being number 1 and taking care of yourself. The West is associated with children. It's associated with creativity. It's associated with joy and doing things that are fun. Also the lake. So if you live near the lake, this should be a good year. Again, to support the West, you want to bring in earth energy because the number 1 star weakens this energy. and to bring in the benefits of the number 1 star even more than you're probably experiencing now. Bring in something blue and metal. You could bring in still water. You could bring in something blue like a blue pillow, a blue picture frame, and put the picture of your kids in it. And that will set up the West for you for this year. I hope that's helpful, and I'll be back soon with the number 2 star, which sits in the Northwest. That's it for now. If you want any more information about Palm Beach Feng Shui, just drop down below, and I have my website listed there. And I hope that's helpful. Post any comments and I'll answer any questions that you have. Talk to you soon. Bye.